Advancing as a species is a good thing, but advancing in some areas is scary as a human being. We live in a world that with a push of a button, we can all turn into ash. You might not remember, but in the Cold War, two countries could have made the world end with a push of a button. So many things happened in the Cold War that when you read about it now, you feel extremely lucky that we didn't end ourselves. In 1962, the world's fate was in these two nations' hands, and they didn't want anything else but power. This is the year that the Cuban Missile Crisis happened. In 1961, the US decided to take control of Cuba. After this happened, Cuba called the USSR and asked for help. At that time, Nikita Khrushchev was the leader of the Soviet Union, and when the call for help from Cuba came, Khrushchev got extremely excited and he said, "Nice, they want us around the United States." Not only did the USSR take their army over there, but they secretly took nuclear weapons. It's funny to know that the USSR never answered anybody this fast before. The communists were extremely excited that they're gonna be next to Florida. They said, "We're gonna be the same as the USA because they have nuclear weapons in Italy and Turkey, and they're right next to us. And that is why we're gonna go to Cuba and do the same exact thing." Tension grew day by day. Then on October 16th, 1962, US found out that the Soviet Union has nuclear weapons in Cuba. Quickly, the generals of the United States had a meeting and they came up with the idea to destroy all the nuclear weapons in Cuba. And they wanted to do it by using airplanes and dropping bombs. But the president at that time, John F. Kennedy, said no. He said, "What you guys are suggesting is stupid. Why would you attack them like that? It's better to attack them in other ways." And 6 days later, they said, any ship that goes towards Cuba, we can stop it. So it was like they had Cuba surrounded. But this idea created a bigger problem, and the problem is that if you stop a ship in international waters, it's an act of war, because the ship is in international waters, not your waters. When Nikita heard what JFK has said, he got really mad and started writing. He wrote, "When you stop a ship in international waters or international space, that's considered an act of war. And this could create a war, but not any war, a nuclear war." After Nikita's letter, it was the worst time of the Cold War. It was at a moment where the Cold War could turn into a warm war, and the flame of nuclear weapons would destroy the whole world. JFK told Nikita, "If you want us to not stop the ships anymore, you're gonna have to remove the nuclear weapons from Cuba." Khrushchev said no, "We didn't bring them to start a war, it's just for defense." The tension rose day by day. One of the best spy planes at that time was the Lockheed U-2. On October 27, 1962, a Lockheed U-2 piloted by Rudolph Anderson was flying over Cuba. The USSR found them in their radars and shot it down with a missile. On the same day, a US Navy ship was in the waters next to Cuba, and they noticed that there's a submarine underneath the ship, and it belonged to the Soviet. When they realized it's for the USSR, they sent a bomb down to give them a little notice. They didn't want to blow it up, they just wanted to give it a warning to come up, let's talk. But inside the submarine, they had other ideas. They thought the war had started. They were really deep in the water and couldn't communicate with anybody, and that is why they thought the war had started. And that is why they quickly went to the nuclear torpedoes they had and decided to launch it. To launch this, 3 people have to unanimously decide. The captain and one of the officers said, yeah, we're doing it. But the third person wouldn't approve it. He was Vasily Arkhipov. At that moment, the whole world's faith was in Vasily's hand. Because if Vasily said okay, a nuclear bomb would go towards the United States. And who knew how many more bombs would be launched from all across the world. Life and death was in this guy's hands, and fortunately, the other 2 couldn't peer pressure him into pushing the button. The same night that this was going on in the submarine, and Vasily fortunately didn't approve, USSR's ambassador had a meeting with Robert Kennedy, JFK's brother. They signed an agreement, and in the agreement it said that the US has to take the nuclear weapons out from Turkey and Italy, and the USSR has to completely leave Cuba alone. The cool part is that the next day at 9 a.m., the Soviets started leaving Cuba. After this happened, the people of each country made fun of their government. They didn't really know if this war started, what would happen. The Americans made fun of JFK, and the Soviets secretly made fun of Nikita. If Vasily approved of launching this missile, the world would be half burned. And the people that stayed alive would live in a hellish environment. Vasily made the right decision. And after when people realized what he did, they looked at him like a hero. They said if he was a selfish person, he would have for sure approved it. But he knew if he approved it, what would happen to the rest of the world. So many people were happy with Vasily's decision that they said he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. What do you guys think? What would happen if Vasily clicked the button? Please comment.